Ineos take their cost cutting to a new low as they cancel food for staff. Coaches are running out of patience with Rasmus Hojlund. Manchester United are being informed about Viktor Gyokeres and Victor Osimhen, with reports Osimhen to United is 95% done. Angel Gomes is seen as the player to add depth to Manchester United's midfield by Ruben Amorim. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with all the noise around Ineos at the moment. So this came out from the Mirror saying that Sir Dave Brailsford and his cohorts are sick of hearing about how Manchester United dominated the Premier League for 2 decades under Sir Alex Ferguson. Brailsford feels that achievements of the past are weighing heavily on how United now go about the business of bringing back the glory. Manchester United's insider said that Ineos want absolutely nothing to do with the past. They don't want to hear how things were done when United were winning 13 Premier League titles, and they won't accept any suggestion that lessons can be learned from when the club's greatest ever manager was in charge. It's all very well drawing a line under the last 12 years and saying let's move on, but it's become an obsession not to mention the period when United are one of the best were one of the best teams in Europe. I'd love your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. I think you can think of it 2 ways. You know, yes, we do need to draw a line. We do need to eventually move on because times have changed and, you know, we are a totally different club now to where we were, where Sir Alex was in charge. And Sir Alex was such a big influence on this team. He literally was a one-man band when he was in charge, who used to be in control and oversee everything. But, you know, But we also had 13 years to move on from that as well and get structures and that in place. But then also, I don't think abandoning our past or not taking any lessons from that is necessarily a good approach as well, which is the second way of looking at it, because we do need to learn, you know, there's things that might have been, you know, that might have been favourable for us to kind of learn from. So just to totally abandon it altogether, I'm not entirely convinced that's necessarily the right approach, but I can kind of see what they're saying as well. Where is that one of the problems? What's weighing heavily on the player's mind as well? The fact that they keep getting compared to the past glories and past players, but then I didn't see that as an issue. You know, when the class of 92 were coming through and they were getting compared to the Busby Babes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just happens. You can't stop, you know, comparing things to the past entirely. And I don't think we should ignore, you know, our kind of history and the fact that we were, you know, so dominant under Sir Alex Ferguson through those years as well. To just totally kind of ignore it, you know, seems a little bit harsh for me. But then I can see the flip side as well, where actually is that what's kind of causing a few problems where the players are feeling too much pressure around it as well. But I'd love your opinions. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments, and I'll enjoy reading those later. So, Ineos will announce another round of redundancies at Manchester United on Monday, while Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford are keen to forget about the club's past achievements. So more job cuts set to be announced today. Apparently there's a meeting at 2 o'clock, which is around the time that I'm recording this video as well. So I've not heard anything more on that as well. Obviously, if there's any updates, I'll bring them to you in future videos as well. Now, Jamie Jackson also confirming it as well, saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is also to make up to 200 more redundancies in an all-staff meeting at Old Trafford at 2:30 today. 2:30, sorry, not 2. Omar Barada, the chief executive, is expected to outline the plan for the club moving forward. Now, that came from Jamie Jackson, so more job losses apparently are set to be announced today, and Omar Barada is going to outline his plan for the club. Whether that will get kind of reported out, it'll probably get leaked, won't it? So yeah, I'll bring you any updates on that as well. But, you know, never nice for people to be losing their kind of jobs. Now, this next story came from The Sun, and I was initially ready to call BS on it, but there's been another update. So lunch at Carrington for everyone except first team players has been reduced to soup and sandwiches, and that includes for coaches and analysts. Which I was ready, because it came from The Sun, right? And let's be real, The Sun are BS merchants. And I thought straight away, that's why I put really on the title with loads of question marks, because really, at Manchester United, that kind of, heartless that they're going to cut food for coaches as well. Like I could get maybe, office workers or guests that are coming into Old Trafford or to Carrington and stuff. That would make sense for me. But for the coaches and that as well, that are all part of the kind of first team setup, I was like, that can't be real. That can't be a true story. But then Jamie Jackson, who is a credible source, he's at the press conferences and that for Man United and has inside information regarding it. He's a bit of a shit stirrer sometimes, but some journalists just are. But he's way more credible than The Sun, saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is too close to... is to close the staff canteen at Old Trafford and replace the free lunches currently on offer with fruit. Ratcliffe is also set to implement a similar move at Carrington, with only players receiving lunch as gracias, and the remainder of staff will be offered soup and bread. Like, are we in a third world country? That is absolutely shocking if that story's to be believed. And Jamie Jackson, like I said, is a good source of information. He's at the press conferences and stuff. He's got inside connections at Man United saying that the cost cuttings got that bad that they're going to give soup and bread. Like, that is absolutely pathetic if that's the case. Like, I genuinely... I don't actually still know whether I believe that story or not. It's that bad. But, from The Sun, I would say take it with a pinch of salt. But from Jamie Jackson as well, he's a shit stirrer, but it doesn't mean he'll put bullshit stories out like that. That's absolutely, ridiculous if that's the case. Like, surely that can't be happening. Please tell me that we are not that broke, that we can't afford to feed the coaches who are probably yet spending long hours at the club as well. Like, that's just, if that's true, that's absolutely pathetic. One of the reasons, though, why it might be true is to do with the financial mess that we're in. And again, a lot of that has to go down with the Glazers. Some of that is to do with the debt and how they've managed the club as well. Not just their debt that they use to leverage the club to buy the club, but also the debt that they've got us in because they've spent all of our money and had to use a line of credit and effectively been signing players on credit cards because they pissed all our money away on, on overpaying for players, not just in terms of transfer fees, but wages and stuff as well. Now, the Manchester United Supporter Trust came out with the following statements. The Glazers' debt mountain is the original sin in the recent decline of Manchester United, and the fact that fans are being asked to pay the price through higher ticket prices is not just wrong, but counterproductive and futile. The £66 tickets will raise less than £2 million this season, a drop in the ocean compared to the mounting cost of Glazer debt, and more than £200 million of transfer debt due in the to be paid. Debt due to be paid this year. Let me put my teeth back in. The only way out of this is for the owners to invest their own money. And I actually agree with Must on that one as well, because the Glazers are the one that can put money into this club. And if they don't want to do that, because we all know they don't want to do that, they've not paid a single pound of their own money and never put that into Manchester United. Remember that. The only other thing they can do is sell some of the shares to Sir Jim, so Sir Jim can put his money into the club, which he's more than happy to do. It's just he can't do that for two reasons. One, PSR rules dictate that if he pays off the debt, they will allocate a charge anyway, so it makes no difference. But then also, secondly, he can't do it. The only way he can do it is to buy shares. And if the Glazers don't want to sell more of their shares, then his hands are tied when it comes to it. But the Glazers can put their own money in, and they refuse to because they have not put a single penny of their own money into Manchester United, and which is absolutely disgusting. And yet the fans are losing their jobs and having to pay more for season tickets and stuff, do you know what I mean? Which is absolutely ridiculous. And again, I point all the blame at the Glazers. Ineos are trying to fix it. I don't agree with how they're fixing it. Like, if they're just giving coaches and people at Carrington soup and bread, I 100% disagree with that. I think that's an absolute nonsense decision if that story is to be believed. But the ultimate problem, the Glazers, and the fact that they've just bled this club absolutely dry. And then also Chris Wheeler said the following: new analysis of Manchester United's financial results by Must shows that the debt interest payments will soar to £50 million a year in 2 years, while total transfer debt is up to £391 million, a raise of £52 million 1 year ago. Now, the Muppeteers also broke this down as well in a recent video, for those that are interested. And he was kind of saying the same thing. So the reason why the debt interest is going to go up is because at the moment we've got the way I kind of think about it, it's like a fixed interest debt where we only have to pay a certain amount. but that's due to expire in 2 years' time. And just the same as if you've got a fixed rate mortgage, if you're fixed in at that kind of rate, when you say for 5 years, once that 5-year period ends, you then have to lock in at what the current market rate is. And because the Glazers locked in their debts a few years ago, now that the interest rates have risen, once that period ends, which is in 2 years' time, the debt that's costing around 20 million a year now is going to significantly go up to 50 million pounds. So we're going to be paying, instead of 20 million pound a year, for the club's debt. And this is the Glazer debt, by the way. This is the debt that they've used to buy the actual football club. At the moment, it's about 20 million pounds a year, according to the kind of figures. That's going to rise to 50 million. So we will be paying 50 million pound a year to have the pleasure of the Glazers owning Manchester United. What an absolute shit show it is, the financial situation at United. And I just genuinely hope that they pack up and leave. Like, I'm absolutely sick of the way we've been mismanaged and the financial abuse at Manchester United that's been, that's been kind of forced upon the fans and stuff like that as well, just through purely the pleasure of having the Glazers own us. Is absolutely a shambles and is now having a massive impact on us, because not just because of the debt for the leverage buyout, but also the debt that they've applied to the club now because they can't handle their money, and they've just been pissing money up the wall expecting things to be okay, and it's absolutely shocking. But let me know what you think about all of those reports in the comments, because I really want to hear your opinions on those. Now let's move on to some transfer news. So Manchester United coaches are losing patience with striker Rasmus Hojlund amid his prolonged goal drought. Hojlund has not scored in the last 16 games, and one United coaching staff member was particularly scathing of his performance against Tottenham 8 days ago. Now that same came from Samuel Luckhurst. Now Samuel Luckhurst is a shit stirrer. He's done loads of hit pieces in the past regarding specifically Rasmus Hojlund. There was a report before, I remember it, I remember it very vividly, saying that players were refusing to pass to Rasmus Hojlund, which I don't think was true at the time. So I do kind of, we need to bear that in mind when it comes to Samuel Luckhurst. He is connected at the club, though. That's why he's so annoying, because he's got good sources and he gets good information, but he's also a shit stirrer as well, which is really frustrating. So I don't know which way to go with that one. That could be a shit stirring story. It could be true. I'll leave it to you to judge which way you go. But the fact is, he's not been doing very well as Rasmus Hojlund at the moment, and he is massively under pressure as well. He is young, though. I do think we do need to bring in a striker in the summer for sure. I'm still undecided on Hojlund. Maybe a loan. I've heard that a few times. That's maybe not a bad shout, because he might be one of these that once the pressure's off of him, if he went somewhere else, he might actually start scoring goals. And there's an argument to say about the chance creation. Like, there's loads of question marks I still have around Hojlund. The problem I've got with him at the moment, though, is he can't stay on his feet, and he's just not doing well at anything at the moment. But yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, in terms of replacements, Manchester United will send observers to watch Victor Osimhen for the rest of his games this season and follow his performances in detail. The observers will closely monitor Osimhen's on-field performance as well as his behaviour off-field and report back to United. Now, that came from a Turkish outlet. However, Fabrizio Romano has dismissed it, saying that sources close to the story guarantee that all rumours of Manchester United scouts travelling to follow Osimhen's progress at Galatasaray are wide of the mark, as they don't need to check on this kind of player. They like him, but the financial package will make the difference. So Romano's saying we don't really need to scout Osimhen because we've done it already. He's a player of interest that we've been linked with multiple years. There's stories that going back like 2-3 years ago when we were kind of looking at Osimhen. So we don't necessarily need to check. We've done all of that. It's just whether we can do the financial package. Remember, I think his release clause is about 62 or 63 million pounds plus the wages. There were stories the other day about us trying to get him on to take a pay cut to join United, which makes no sense, especially if we're not in Europe and bits as well. But the financial package will make the difference, according to Romano. So dismissing the kind of stories before. Romano also said that Manchester United are attentive to Victor Osimhen and Viktor Gyokeres. United are being informed on the situation with weekly updates. The budget is going to be crucial this summer. So again, Romano saying it depends on the budget, will maybe depend on which striker we go for, which one we can afford. Obviously not dismissing Viktor Gyokeres, which is kind of interesting, because the reports were always believed that we'd moved on from Gyokeres and we're going potentially with Osimhen. Romano saying nope, we're still being informed on the Gyokeres situation as well, which would be interesting. But again, a lot of it will come down on budget. However, there's been another story today coming from a Nigerian business outlet. Now, I don't know the credibility, but I can't see them being bullshitty, or they're not like a football news outlet. They're a business outlet saying that Victor Osimhen's move to Manchester United is 95% completed, with the Red Devils reportedly willing to pay his €75 million release clause. Now, that's one to kind of keep an eye on and see how that develops. Again, I don't know the credibility personally. This has been reposted by some aggregator accounts online, and the actual kind of source of the information, like I said, they're a business outlet, Nigerian business outlet. So again, I don't see any reason why they would want to put bullshit stories out there, but I don't know the credibility. I'll say take it with a pinch of salt now. I'd want to see a bit more credibility before, getting too excited about that story. But, no smoke without fire when it comes to Osimhen. I do think he's a player we're looking at. It's just whether, no Europe, wages, budgets. We've just gone through, like, if Ineos are cutting, not feeding their staff because they're worried about money, then it suggests that we are going to be on a bit of a tight budget. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens with that. Now, another alternative striker that we've been linked with is Samu. So Manchester United are contemplating whether to make a move for Samu. It's actually Aguilar now, after the Porto star has been identified as an alternative target to Sporting marksman Viktor Gyokeres and Galatasaray loanee Victor Osimhen by Old Trafford recruitment chiefs, as preparations are made for the summer transfer window. So another name. It's not the first time we've been linked with Samu Aguilar neither as well. There's been a few other kind of reports suggesting that we've been scouting him. So he could be a player potentially, but his release clause is quite high as well. So again, a lot of it's going to come down to the whole kind of financial package, wages, budget allocation, European football, not European football, and all of these kind of stuffs as well. But he's I would say, from the strikers linked with us, Gyokeres, Osimhen, Samu and Delap are the kind of four main ones that we're kind of heavily linked with as well. Delap's actually probably got the best in terms of links, because David Ornstein said that we were looking at him and he's the best journalist around, in my opinion. But, there's no smoke without fire with the others. So it does maybe suggest that we're looking at a striker again. It just comes down to budgeting and stuff, doesn't it? Now, one way that we could increase the budget is by selling players, and Ben Jacobs has said that there's still a feeling, even though it would be a reluctant sale, that Alejandro Garnacho is a player that on the books could be very valuable, and in the same way that Manchester United would have considered a sale in January, it will be the case again for financial reasons in the summer too. So Ben Jacobs suggesting that there's still consideration for Garnacho to be sold in the summer. Now, if that happens, then I would maybe give us more chance of getting a Gyokeres or an Osimhen or someone of that ilk, because it obviously frees up more funds. It's homegrown, and the way PSR rules are is that would allow us to spend a little bit more freely. Remember the Rashford situation as well. Rashford's going to be similar if we sell him in the summer, regarding his homegrown profits. So it'll be a big boost for PSR. So we could potentially go through some of those players if Garnacho gets sold as well. But again, you'll have to let me know in the comments what you think about that. Now, another player we've been linked with is Lukiba. So Manchester United, Liverpool and Chelsea all want to hijack Real Madrid's summer move for RB Leipzig defender Castillo Lukiba, who has a £74.5 million release clause. That came from Christian Folk. I don't think we're going to have that sort of budget available for Lukiba. I do kind of maybe think that we would be looking at a centre-half, especially with Martinez's injury, and obviously Luke Shaw. So it does, and Victor Lindelof's leaving. Johnny Evans is going to be leaving as well. So there's a few there is going to be a hole, I think, at the centre-back position. I know we've obviously bought Aiden Heaven recently, though, but again, let's see how he gets on between now and the end of the season. So I do think we maybe be looking at potentially a left-footed centre-back. I don't think we've got £74.5 million of our budget to go and spend on Lukiba personally, but he would be an interesting option. What would probably be more realistic, though, is someone like Angel Gomes, who is available on a free transfer. So Gimme Sport is saying that Manchester United are interested in signing Angel Gomes as a free agent this summer, with Tottenham Hotspur also interested in him. Amrin believes that the 24-year-old midfielder will provide much-needed depth in his midfield for next season. And I agree. I like the idea of getting Angel Gomes. I like the idea of getting Jonathan David on a free transfer as well. I remember there was a video I did a few days ago when it had a list of 5 players that were all available on a free, and you take a step back and you think actually most of those would kind of maybe improve Manchester United, and those were 2 of the players on the list as well: Jonathan David, Angel Gomes. I think Gomes would be a good replacement for kind of Ericsson, where he can play in a few different positions in midfield, could play as a 10, could play as an 8 as well. So so I think for someone on a free transfer, obviously homegrown as well, would tick that box and be interesting to bring in. Yeah, that would be a smart bit of business for me personally. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.